Okay. Hello? Hello? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Perfect. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. Alright, let's go ahead and start the review. Can I hide? I can't hide that. Perfect. Yeah, so white messed up here. Normally you'd want to play something like this. Black would get here so you can play here, or black plays this. But you normally don't attach in the corner first because now you lose the cornerstone. They also don't have to respond to you directly, and they can just extend the stone out, and your wall is not very good. So you actually want to spend this time to pincer the stone after pushing. Black can play like this, and you can continue here, or you can push once more, and then play a knight's move, or just jump out. This is also a possibility. These would be different games. But allowing the opponent to take this is not good. I don't think I like the pincer immediately because black can go ahead and make sure they get this connection, and when they connect and jump out, your wall is very weak. Even if black plays here, very big for black to continue the attack on these stones. This is very good. Yeah, also the pincer is probably not the best direction either. Black gets to fix their shape on the bottom, you get to attack the one stone, but then black just gives it up. Does this change anything? If white plays like this, I don't think it does. It might actually. If we extend and play like this. But do you have the ladder as white? Doesn't look like it because it hits the start point. So that wouldn't work. White got way too much from this. White, maybe a little bit too greedy. Just play like this and then continue back here and then pincer black. This should be the best case scenario, especially after something like this. If black blocks later, you have some good endgame, but it's a little bit difficult because black's in a very good solid position because we Tanuki'd and we attached to a group that we shouldn't have. So black is off to a good game. They got a large corner from here. This is fine. We shouldn't be making any pushes or exchanges that we can't do anything. If you're going to push a shape, you should be able to do something else other than just push from behind. Because if you're only pushing from behind, then your push here doesn't make any sense. You're only making black stronger. If you did this once and then came back and fixed your shape, that would be fine. But I would rather just play this and either fix here or maybe probe the opponent. But this is wrong. This probably isn't needed. I think you can just play the Atari and then extend. Because locally speaking, white can't live like this. So they would have to extend, and again, they still can't live locally. So just Atari once, and then turn would have been very big. Now, white does have the option of playing stuff like this to get out. But they played the Atari. So the thing to be worried about if this did happen would be black getting this cut. But if you have this ladder, there is no real cut there. Except for maybe if black plays here. Which is a real threat. But this probably would be the better way to proceed in the game. Right now, if you played like this, you just gave up the stones. Where if you had just played this and then invaded the 3-3, this is a very different case. I mean, black can play almost any Joseki here, but this would have been much simpler. Now we've ruined our own liberties, and then we gave black a fairly large wall. Although I'm not sure why we played this, because now black gets Sente here. I imagine black can almost do anything. They can Tanuki. There's no issue with any of black's shapes at the moment. So I imagine either black 3-3s or approaches. Yeah, this is perfectly fine. I see white has a real problem of pushing from behind. After this push, you don't need to block here anymore. But also, like, because black is getting such a large area, maybe we should just play the nice move directly. Or you should play on the side. Because playing like this, and then taking a large point, you just gave black more points for no reason. In this particular position, black should recognize that they're winning. Especially with how the bottom left here came and then how the right side came about. White sure has some points here, but regarding all the points here and here, white doesn't have enough to make that up as a difference. So if we're going to attack, we should probably do it in a way that allows us to take more points here. So for example, something like this. Jumping out is fine, but if we're going to jump out, we want to play something here, or we want to take this corner because it's very large. Another thing we could try to do is cut directly or clamp. Even peeping would be fine. So if they connect, then we come back here. And we've made an exchange that's useful for us. Maybe a wedge would be better later, but we don't know that. A lot of peeping, and then we're trying to cut this, but it would be better not to. A lot of cutting points, so you just turn here and you would have been fine. It's really weird how this happened. Why? I would have preferred this for white, just because black actually has to answer this. If they Tanuki, black is not alive. So now if they answer, like we're not really worried about losing a few stone here when we gained here. Now like there's no attack. Also, if black ever connects here, I believe locally we're not alive. For example, is it pretty sure it's this one here, and then white plays like this. I guess white's alive like that. Never mind, I guess white is alive. Or I'm probably doing it wrong, but this is a little sketchy. Also, I think just here for black is better. Even if white gets to jump in a little bit, you're fully connected on the outsides. There's no way for white to disconnect the center group and the top group. Oh. Yeah, that's really bad. At this point, we should just connect. Well, once we're fully connected here, right, there's not actually a lot that white can do with this Atari. Potentially, you have to give up these stones, but you would gain these 2 stones. White gave up stones for no reason. But another thing that could have been done is we just connected, and then you jumped. This way, the most that white could do is play these Ataris, and then potentially gain some endgame later. This cut and then this connection kind of nailed the coffin here for those stones. Okay, so white. I'm gonna assume that white gained a lot from this, and like any advantage that you had from these two corners is gone now. We still want to play towards like the larger side, so this area is still open. I would prefer to play either this or here, and if white blocks, then we can come here, or if we take and white plays like this, we can take, and then white's probably going to try something large here, and then you can always jump in. Because of the way that the center is held, black has the option of running into 3 groups. So there's no way for white to actually gain a proper distance to attack the stone that jumps inside. But if you jump in like this, those stones should die. Alright. As Q players, we are a fan of making exchanges that don't help us. This kind of push is not very helpful, and then, you know, making these peeps are not very helpful either. This extension probably isn't that bad, but after you've made this Hane and connect, black's alive here, so even if you did get this, you can't even make a Ko. But later, maybe you would want to be able to play here. But that's gone when you play this, because now black can counterattack with the extra stone. We keep pushing from behind. It's not very good. In this case, white's trying to gain points in this area. If you just peep first, it should be fine. Like, you don't actually have to care that they're going to gain a few points here, especially after they're fully alive here. I think the big thing is, like, we want to be able to play here without being able to be surrounded. Right, double Atari with this one. Because we want to be able to connect back up. This is pretty big, right? It also reduces the area, but we also need to do something with our stones here as well. So that would be tricky. So I got one of the better moves. However, I will say the center is not going to be as big as the corner. The corner is super huge here. Like this type of stuff doesn't really make sense, because what are you trying to do with this stone? The stone, you gained half a point here at best. If you wanted to do something that gained you more points, you'd probably want to do something on the side here. Jumping wouldn't do anything because black can undercut. So the largest move would be here, if we're not counting any like Sentei Ataris, right? This corner is huge and probably needs to be played. There's also this. This is also big. So we need to be very mindful of the end game. Because at this point, like after here, the game is just all end game. There's no more middle game. There's no more, because the fighting's already over. The top right kind of settled the fighting, and black chose kind of a move that's not going to help them. And both players are missing the big end game points here. So black got a pretty good move here. That's good. I also got the end game here. We should take. Normally we would do this, but now when they play the empty triangle, we have to take. But if you take and they play here, that just means we can play like this, and they lose more end game here. One thing that's going to be bothersome is that white can actually play here, but white should definitely play this. Uh, wait. 100% need to play this. Now if they connect, they're dead. This group should die. I guess they can play... No, they can't even play here, because we can play this one, and they have to eventually connect here. This is... I wouldn't even respond to that, because once they take, you can just ascend and you're alive. What? White just killed themselves. That's perfect. If white had just connected here, then black actually can't do anything. This would have been Seki. You still have to answer, but like it would have been Seki. So like this move is like poor timing, and we needed to play there. How is this game? Okay, it was scored correctly. Okay. I was gonna say like it would have been weird if this was the Seki in the actual game. So I think like the big major things in this game was the opening. Like we're playing Joseki that we don't know, and then we Tanuki'd from it. When you play this way, you're not attaching to the corner. If you want to give up the corner, you have to play. You should have done this sooner. I think this would have turned out very differently. Is it this Atari? I think it's this one. And then just connect. Or it might be this one. And then just connect. Yeah. Okay, so like the big thing is we attached in the corner. That wasn't very good for us. We Tanuki'd and the black got to take the corner from us. At the very least, we should try to stop them from playing this way and then fight. Otherwise, play something like this, and if they play high, you can steal away the base. If they play low, then later you don't have to worry about this area because you can just lean on it, and it's already low. But the other thing is, black definitely knew about this. You have to connect after black descends. The honey is a big mistake. If you're going to do anything local, you probably should have played like this. And the reason being is you already have support here, but it's over concentrated because your stones are way too close. And then I think the last few things was like this pushing stuff. Really, just you guys need to not make exchanges that are not helpful. Because after this, like you could have played anywhere else in the board, and it would have been perfectly fine game. And the other pushing that happened was over here, which was not good. And then for black, we got a little bit too greedy about the center. It's definitely more important to close areas off, especially when you're ahead in territory. Any questions about the game? Okay, we'll move on to the next one. PG and Samuel. So I know like you're kind of just regurgitating what you know about Joseki, but this is usually this type of framework is usually followed up with this. And we call it a micro Chinese. It's just another form of Fuseki that stems from black playing first. In this case, we do it on one side, and we kind of turn it into a position where white has to try to stop this framework from going. When you play like this is fine, but the goal of this type of position would be to attack the opponent because we have helping stones. When you play like this is probably a bit too easy for white, but there's like nothing wrong with the way that was played. So far, like, there's been no big mistakes, except for maybe this one. Usually, we have something like this where either black gets sent here or we push and then we need to take, and white will fix like this. This is normally the sequence. Sometimes we get this position. I think this one's more common. White would get this giant wall and black gets sent to go across and stop the influence. But if you just take immediately, white gets this really nasty move. If white had played here, it would have been a mistake, but white successfully blocked it. Not sure if they knowingly did it, but now they definitely need to. They definitely need to fix that now, because you still have to jump. If you ignore this, right? So if you ignore this and black just gets this, you're going to be under attack. So we definitely needed to come back and fix first. We didn't have the right to do this correctly. You could also play here, and when black goes for some sort of cut, so like this or this, we don't have to worry about our stones here. Probably this one's better, because now black is cut and white has a helping stone. Black has the right idea, but we're not actually worried about white Hane. So if white Hane is like this is a very thick wall, and white does not want to play a move up here, because no matter how white plays, there's no way to make a good base here without being attacked by these stones. And the best part is like, if white does try something like this, black is happy to make this sort of like large area that they can make points in. Because these stones don't look like they're going to have a lot of fun. Especially if you play something like this, and eventually Hane. They still need to make a base, but they're going to be attacked on both sides. But this is definitely the right idea. If I was white, I'd rather just play like this. Losing a few corner points is not a problem, especially if we can grow our own wall here, right? So black had the opportunity to grow outwards. I'll use blue to denote that. So black had the option to do something along these lines, but now as white, we're the ones that are taking away from black here. While blocking like this, well, even this Tanuki. So like, we're playing on the third line, but we have this wall here, right? First, we probably definitely want to extend, but if we're going to extend from the wall, we want to be large. We want it to be wider. So either something here or here, but it must be on the fourth line. We're no longer taking territory when we have a wall. We need to build with it. This is a good move. I think this is definitely going to be a priority, though. Even if you don't play 3, I think it's pretty big to try and make this right side very large, especially when black has a low stone here. The other reason we just don't play the low stone is that white can play this. And it's very painful because now, in order to attack this, we have to try to pincer it or ambush it in the center. But white is not really worried about being cut off in the center when they can make a nice base and live on the top side. So now the whole area that you were looking for, you only got a few points rather than a lot of points. If we're going to grow, this is a good idea, But the proper way of playing would be something like this. So now, let's say white tanukis, and now you kick, they would have to connect, and then you can continue attacking this group. They would need to run to live, and then you can play another move, and you can see how white tanuki but gave black this kind of like two giant walls. So now the only way white can go in is through the center, and if white does go into the center, well, we still have forcing moves. But the other thing is we can attack, or we can take the points, which if we consider a fourth line territory, that's almost 12 times 4, 48. That's almost 50 points. That's a lot. So the way that we do it, and well, I should also say the reason that white doesn't tanuki this position, especially after this, is because we can cut and take a very large corner. It does mean that the opponent does have the tanuki twice, but if they mistakenly play something like this, we can still cut and take a large corner. So the proper move would be here. They would block off. We can jump. They might slide into the corner, and then we can extend, or they play here. They fix, and you can either play here or here. They would fix, and then we can come back. This is all possible. In the actual game, white played like this. This isn't really a Sente move, and we probably shouldn't be giving white a solid connection on the first line, because after this we can just extend, and then we have no worry about. Well, I mean, we still have to worry about this, but notice how these aren't solidly connected. Well, now we're threatening to capture these. Eventually, with that solid connection, you might have to fix, but as of right now, there's no way for white to kill it, except for maybe this way, but you can run out with this stone. White cannot kill you because of this hole in their wall. But if you make this exchange, it just means that they're able to connect under. And the corner is still alive. Okay, this is good. At this point, we probably don't need to extend or try to make these two stones worth it, because they're not going to be. We could try either, if you're planning to attack, that's different, but I think the big point is we need to try and grow our stones. So either something like this, try to make this area as large as possible. A white fixed. It's an interesting fix. That's a good one. But I'd probably play here now. Mostly because I'd like to be able to, even if we give white this, I want these stones to be safe. We might even need to play here or play like this first and then jump out. And then we can take the points a little slowly, but towards our Panuki. So now we're forced to run. Unfortunately, if we're running like this, it means we're doomed. This is not a good way to run, because when white plays like this, you're basically half dead. Especially with this. Maybe we could have tried something like this. There's no way for white to actually cut this shape. White can try different things. I guess if, white can peep here, it's not as lovely, because eventually you still have to come back and fix. So if we're going to run, you probably needed to run this way. Losing these stones is not good. But later you can get this in, so you'd be able to connect up, and then play something like this. That means we're either capturing two stones or we're capturing these. Actually, I think we capture these anyways, because we can throw in and play like this. So with something like this, that's really nice. Otherwise, white would have to give up these stones and we can cut them. So white definitely needs to be very careful. I don't know what we're doing here. I think our best chance is this, but even then, white protects, and when you go down, white can just connect here. So you only have one eye, and then white just plays here to kill you. So this black group should definitely die. Okay, white's invading. This is probably a little bit too deep. Once you've recognized that you've captured and like you're ahead like this is a huge area, right? Well, now we should probably reduce from the outside rather than trying to jump in, because this will never be as big as this whole area for white. Black lost stones, and you also have a small area here as well. So in retrospect, white's area is going to be a lot larger. And once we recognize that we're winning, we shouldn't take those risks. Especially here, you can just descend Tiger's Mouth for eye shape. They either need to extend or fix, and then you can play like this. Whether this lives or not, I have no idea. But potentially with something like this, I think this is more likely to survive. Here, we definitely need to make some sort of co-shape, but with co's, that just means that black has more co-threats and that they can do stuff with this group. I don't think locally white has co-threats they can use. Yes. No. Why would you play there? If you take and they connect, you can no longer kill the group. If you throw in, they can't. The connection doesn't do anything. I don't know what the time pressure or the time situation is like, but you can definitely get away with just being able to read something this simple. I think you've overthought it, and you missed your chance. Now we're desperate to kill white, but we won't be able to. Oh no. I guess you would be worried about something like this. That is true, but if black plays like this, you can always connect and still only one eye, or if black plays here, you can always give it up. Probably with a connection, so if black takes, we have to throw in. Connecting doesn't work because then we just connect. And if they take, we take away the eye. So that one's a little bit harder, but a little bit of reading can definitely go a long way. But with these stones cut off, I think black is now has resurrected their group. So black succeeded in getting their group alive, but that's because white made a mistake and connected stones that, frankly, don't need to be connected. Unfortunate, but it happens sometimes. Why wouldn't you play here? Black can't do anything, so like this is like the best that black can do. And they can connect. But I mean, white's going to lose this race anyways. But it definitely should have played here. This connects your whole group. Like, especially here. Even if it's like this, I mean, you still lose by 2, but you don't lose points for it. Okay, so white is dying. We need to play here to throw in and then take. I'm noticing a particular pattern of like we're panicking, but a simple solution would have been to just connect underneath, and we wouldn't have lost anything because there's no way for black to throw in at this point to do anything. Yeah, black got a sharp move here. Wait, that's fine. After this, absolutely want to just throw in. Throw in here would have been perfect because now if white throws in here, they have to connect. And we connect, Atari. We don't have to care about the 5 stone anymore. We can Tanuki. Because now we can connect up. I 100% should just connect. White cannot connect here. They would die. Oops, wrong one. Take, right? Just take away the eye. This would have been bigger. Oh, sorry. We needed to connect. That's right. Connecting, and when they connect, they die like this. So again, this would have been a Liberty race. Just connected. And even if they played here, you still had these stones that were captured. And you're winning by 1. So in the end, black saved their stones. White White lived in the top right. So white lived almost everywhere except for this cutting stones. Black saved their group. Okay, black went. Okay. Big thing is we need to identify where the areas that white can come in. And there's 2 areas where white comes in here, right? This one and this area. Which one is more of a problem? It's going to be this left side, or it's going to be here. If we play here and then they jump out, well, the bigger side would be like they have more room to run. So if we can play like this, then we can cut the stones off. They can still run this way, but eventually we get to cut like this and the stones are in trouble. So they have to play conservative, and we can attach or we can jump into their area a little bit more. But we should not try to make points that are small. You should always try to make bigger points by picking probably the harder, maybe not the harder side. This one's a little bit more difficult concept to say. But you should pick the side. If you close one side, they're always going to come from the other. So you should pick from the side that's easiest to cut off. And in this case, it would be this one, as we have multiple ways to cut here and force our opponent to accept that we're going to make points. See, we've made 2 full more lines than the previous one was something like this. Okay, so 2 stones, not really that big. We're still in endgame. They're no longer large. We should play bigger moves. Moves like this that would help us capture more points in the center, or something like this, right? So if black comes here, we're forcing them to respond to our moves. Taking 2 points, well, think about it this way. If you play here and they connect, well, you can play another one, and the investment of not capturing the stones is now very large. Having to come back and fix, not that big of an issue. That connection is a pass move. White should definitely try to do something here in the center. They did, but it was in the wrong direction. Do you want to play from this side now? We're in the end game where we can make points in the corner, or not corner. Sorry, in the center. But now, like all the potential that we did have, black has ruined it. So now we need to try and ruin black's potential, but they're already going to gain a little bit more points this way. Sure, this is big, but it's not really the biggest endgame. White can definitely Tanuki this. For example, this is a very large endgame, and white can play this go, so black has to play like this. Then connect. Black can most definitely probably ignore this, but Even if black plays here, white plays like this, or plays here, but white plays here, right? So if we go in this direction, also white's fully connected. They're live. I disregard. This is no longer sent. I forgot that white was alive. Yeah, in this case, like this connecting here is like just gigantic. Playing here is also big. Um, but we also want to play something here as well. So the rest of this is all end game. I'm not sure who won, but white definitely had a very large lead in the with how the opening went. I'd be surprised if white won this game. Yeah. Big mess up here, and I think the biggest issue of this game was we connected stones that we didn't need to. Black got this, which is very big, but when white plays here, we can throw in, but we don't need to connect any of this. We just connect here, the Atari, we connect, they take, but because we connected too soon, we have to fix and then they can live. But also we connected here, right? So if we just play this one, they can take, we can connect, or they take, we throw in, they connect, or sorry, they take, and then we kill. There's no way for black to get two eyes with this shape. They can try doing this, but we can break the eye. If they play here, we break the eye, and we can play this one. They can try to be sneaky, that's for sure. So like this, and then play here. But this is not enough space to get out. And more than likely, the white can definitely handle this. We probably don't need to play 13, we can play here. And this would be a similar story, except when they connect, we threateningly cut. So now we can absolutely kill these stones. There's also, like, we should probably also just... One is more of a style thing, but it's probably proper to play this one. Then the Aji just doesn't exist. So like this. Now the Aji doesn't exist. There's no way out in this case. You can probably play here. But it would definitely become a fight. So best to be careful. And go to the last game. This looks like a large fight happened, and looks like white ran into some trouble. I believe both of these players are 30 EQ. I'm not 100% sure. So I'll try to be delicate, but my style of teaching is for more experienced players, so I'm going to give you the same treatment that I give other Q players. This is definitely a Joseki thing. So the normal follow-up is to play like this, and then both players will fight in some form or another. But if we play like this, black guys get surrounded, so white needs to jump out, and many ways of playing after this. When you play here, black can actually just get ahead, so like your wedge wouldn't really work. But also, black gets this ladder, and it'd be too good for black. So a small mistake. This one's probably a mistake on black's part. I would like to play this way. However, this is probably okay. So now, like, the ladder isn't fully... I didn't even notice that black played a 5-5. Wow. Okay. Interesting game. So, when we play like this, black has to give up the stone or take the ladder directly, and then white can take these stones. So we got a strong shape on the outside, but white gets a little bit here too as well. A slight difference of, like, we played the Hane, and so the shape is slightly worse for us, but if we extended, then we don't have the same issue. And white can only get this. So white was actually out on the side on the other variation, but here, white is actually lower, and they're only out on to the third line, so the influence is better for black while white gets less territory. So just to reiterate, like the Joseki we want to play is something like this, where if black plays like this, we either extend or hane, but usually black will pincer like so, or here, and then white needs to run out. If it's a close pincer, it might be worth playing the attachment or the knight's move. We don't necessarily need to stop black from connecting underneath. But if it's a long pincer, then we should definitely try to stop them with some solid shape or a knight's move. Continuing the game, black got the Atari and then extended, which is good. Good shape. White jumped, but they give their opponent some pretty good shape here. I think we need to cut. So here's why we're cutting. First, white cannot play any of the ladders because we can always take. For example, here we can always take. Second, if white connects, we can always extend and then fight the liberties here. So something that would happen is we can kill these stones before white can kill ours. So that's big. The other thing is if white takes our stone, we can take these stones. So now, even if white plays like this, the ladder doesn't work because we can always take at any point, and it would be bad for white to play the ladder out. Another thing is you could probably run out this way. Playing this Atari isn't bad, but we definitely need to cover on the outside. The idea behind this is when white protects, however that may be, right? So let's say white plays like this, and we protect. We need to be able to run these stones out and gain this extra stone. Also, we potentially want to be able to play this ko later. So when we play here, we're looking to cut the shape, but I think white would be happy to be cut because we've captured 3 stones, and then you need to learn, not learn, but you need to be able to handle white's 3 stones while not dying in the corner, which is possible with something like this, where you force the attachment to play here. It's not everything, but it does definitely help. If we probably need to live here, so white would be able to get this, and then they're more or less alive. So it's not easy, but it can be complicated sometimes. And if we're running like this, probably better to jump. The idea now is if they try this, they cannot ladder us because we can capture. If they connect, then we're out, right? So our stones are out, these stones are surrounded, and then we can also capture white on the second line. So I would need to block and then live, and then you can cut white. So black would have a lot of stronger shape, and white wouldn't want to be able to play this way. So white needs to come back and fix, and then we can jump. And white can't connect through because we can play like this. Black can also play this bamboo shape. Same thing here, and the corners would be more or less good to go. This would still turn into quite a bit of a fight. The white would probably look for things like this to attack. Just make this group a lot stronger, and then play here, and then we need to run with the stones. It doesn't mean this is bad or good for either player. It just means this is kind of the flow of the game. So white got a little bit stronger here. This group is now alive. These two groups, 1 and 4 here, are the ones that need to run. But white's the one that's going to be attacking because they have the outside, whereas black is on the inside. But also white has the first move. So this is kind of premature. We still need to play something like this, but then black has this cut, so we absolutely have to come back and fix and allow black to cut through. Yeah, so I'm going to point out that black is probably going to have this cut the whole time, right? Until white fixed it, but then we fixed at probably the right time, but like we could have fixed it at a point where We weren't going to get fully surrounded, but we still would have gotten cut. Here, I would have liked it if black just played here. Now, when white comes out, we can focus this way, and there's no stone for white to come back to. They have to get past this one stone, which is connected to a living group. So when they hane, we can cut, or we can pincer. We kind of play this way so that our opponent can't gain a base, and when our opponent is so far high on the board, they have no base where they should be. So in the game, white ends up playing an empty triangle, got cut and died. This is good. Want to connect? Don't fall into the trap of being captured and then being Atari'd here. Although this wouldn't be terrible because, again, we wouldn't die here. But it's a good thing we connected because white is captured. No need to recapture those stones. This is a little odd. White could play here to just extend. If you wanted to attack the group, you should just play here directly. There's no need to make any sort of exchanges that would help your opponent. And so here, like, you can see how this is helping the opponent. And you played the Atari, but the Atari doesn't really do anything. You actually lose the Liberty here, which might have been valuable, except for the fact that this is captured. You extend. So we made the 1, 2, 3 exchange, but if we just played this way, we can hane, and this is somewhat center. So if they back off and we connect, well, now they need to live locally. Whereas if we play 1, 2, 3, when they play here, they don't have to respond anymore. It's like we didn't connect, and we didn't fix our weakness. So a little unfortunate, but that's kind of the principle behind the 1, 2, 3, right? We don't need to make 1, 2 exchanges or AB. There's ABC. We can play C directly. So we are pressing our opponents a little low. Probably jumped a little prematurely, but that's fine. Tiger's Mouth protects your group. No need to connect on the first line. There's no way for the opponent to throw in and capture the stones, right? Every time they throw in or they play an Atari, we can always just capture. But playing this way definitely hurts. Black should probably have played this one and then played here. Now white has no choice but to take the outside stone. But maybe we don't want the outside stone to be taken. So we can just play here. And the idea behind this is when white plays this one, we're going to play here. And if they extend, we can play this Atari. Now white can't win this race at all. So unfortunately, white absolutely needed to play here. This would have been helpful because now we're preventing black from trying to fully surround the corner. But this is definitely difficult. But black did not protect. Black absolutely needed to protect. White probably doesn't need to answer in the corner anymore, but if black gets this move, you won't die. It's just it'll be hard to actually attack black. Black is probably going to run this way and play like this. So black is going to end up in the corner, which is why it was also very important to play the tiger's mouth here. Okay, we're getting a little bit greedy. We probably just need to play here and then try to attack the corner. The idea behind this is when we're surrounded, we can play this ko, which is big. And if black plays like this, we can play this ko. And locally, black can't live in the corner because we can take the eye space. There's not enough, there's not 2 eyes here. And play here or play this one. In this case, it's probably better to just take. The reason being is now there's no Atari here later. For white, we don't want to give white an Atari here later, because then they would take, and then now they can. You have a lot of thickness, but they have stones that they can use to live in the area. So if we take away that privilege, then they can only extend, and we can get the first move to attack those stones. Blocking is good. So at this point, I think white is kind of flailing. And there's nothing that white can really do here. This is definitely an interesting move. But third line would be a lot better to attack those stones. We probably just play the Atari once and then connect. Now, if like this, we can play here, and then they need to live locally, and then we kind of enclose them in the area. We force white to live small while we can build the outside. I think there's a lot more moves, but at this point, I think the game is over. And black got kind of like really lucky. White kind of made poor shape choice in the end. So one thing that really helps with a lot of like the cutting points and stuff is you just need to make strong shape. So for example, if we consider what strong shape would look like here, we can play here in the corner, and then let's say we Tanuki, right? Well, we can always answer, and there's no way for black to actually kill this group. We can also play this one too. So black would get this, they extend, and then we can play away. Black might be able to Hane, but they wouldn't be able to double Hane, as we can Atari and take, they extend, and they can get some forcing moves, but they won't be able to kill our stones, or rather strong. So they need to extend, now we're alive and we can play elsewhere. So big thing is when we play with solid shape, we won't die and we can Tanuki. That means we get extra moves elsewhere on the board. But another thing is sometimes we may not know Joseki, which is completely fine. But trying to find a balance between some Joseki you know and then try playing similar shapes. Like, for example, a similar shape that I would know is like this kick, right? Even in this position, when we played high, I might want to try this kick and then play here. This is because this is a similar shape that I know, and I'm applying it to a shape that I do know. But when we play shapes that we probably don't know, we might end up giving our opponent a little bit too much strength. And then just don't involve yourself in cutting points. Especially when you have a Hane at the head of 2 stones or at the Hane of 3 stones. You don't want to leave cutting points, so pushing one more time and then jumping would have been absolutely perfect. Because now you can always respond, and this cut no longer works, right? Okay.